account number 99500, being transferred to equipment, account number 44430, in the amount of $87,300.89, for a total of $2,665,741.92. If anybody would like me to read those again, I'll be more than happy to.
I will move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
And all of these are within the ARPA budget that the commissioners have established.
I'll second.
Have a second by Rick Collins. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the transfer of ARPA funds?
What is the grant match dollars? What are they used for? Is that for a highway out there?
Yeah, that was for the County Road 56 project.
Okay.
Any further questions, Bob?
And when he was reading those, if you were following along that column, those other two numbers that Rick referenced were on the next page, just in case you got lost as he was reading along. My only question would be, just to the commissioners, I think, on the million that we're transferring for insurance, the $1.4 million, whatever. I understand doing that for ARPA. Is that going to get us to a level that we're going to be okay, or are we going to have to come up with that kind of money in the future?
So
Will that self-fund us for a while or help?
So what we did, insurance is normally paid from county general. So we moved the first 7 months, I think it was, of insurance and paid it out of ARPA. Then we took that amount, I think I just did like 1.4 million, I did an even number, and moved that from county general into the self-insurance fund so that there is a bigger cushion there.
So it creates a bigger cushion in county general to fund that in the future, right? Because we got to use up the ARPA funds now.
Yes, it creates a bigger cushion in the self-insurance fund.
Right.
It's no longer in county general.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And we're able to do that because we had ARPA funds.
Correct.
And do those dollars always stay there year to year?
In the self-insurance? Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Until you spend them, right?
Until we spend them.
Okay.
Since we had the ARPA money and everybody had agreed that we could use the insurance for that, then we were able to put a good cushion in there. Just because you never know what claims will come. So, yeah.
Well, and
And that is the fund that we were in the negative for probably the first 7 years I was on council.
and it got us in
Because
trouble.
they had never funded that enough to cover the expenses, and it was not monitored well, which we have changed that process so that we do not, because we ended up owing, and we owed it to ourselves, even though it was in the negative, we owed it to ourselves. It still had to be made up. And it took us a number of years to clear that up.
So this is a really good move to be able to
Absolutely.
have that self-insurance fund so we don't get in trouble.
Yep.
If we have some major
Absolutely.
catastrophic claims in the next few years.
And I mean, to be honest, we're also able to do that because we've done so well with being able to save the money in county general, and we're not making the move because we need that money. We're making the move so that it's positive for each fund.
Good.
Any further discussion from the council? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the $2,665,741.92 transfer for the ARPA funds. We'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Does this wrap up, Susan, that ARPA money so you can close it out at the end of '24?
Not quite, but I will have it.
Mostly taken care of? That's
Yeah.
good.
Okay, moving on. We have non-approval transfer requests. Randy Fox with the airport.
Good morning. I'm going to endeavor to take less time than Dave took reading all those transfers.
I can do those again if you want.
Susan received the flyer, so you should have that in your packet. if all goes well, tomorrow they will fly the test of our flight check for the nav aids, and our airport runway will be fully functional. We still have 2,000 feet we have to back taxi. That'll be taken care of in the spring. Start that construction, but we won't have people having to go to other airports to land in weather that's under minimums for visual flight. Sweet Aviation, everybody on the board is just happy as can be with Sweet Aviation. They've done a wonderful job for the airport, great ambassadors for us. They've also apparently bought the fixed base operator position at Goshen Airport, and they're going to be doing some repairs there that they're not going to do here. They'll be ferrying aircraft back and forth for different services, but it expands their service capabilities across the board. And we're hoping that they succeed because they're doing a great job. We are looking at funding a T-hangar using it's the build, own transfer, build, operate, transfer, BOT. Apparently the commissioners did it when they did the highway department. We set a budget. Basically the construction company builds it at their quote. No overruns, no, excess fees, and then they own that, and then they transfer the ownership to us. So we get a fixed price for the T-hangars that we want to build with no overruns, and hopefully it'll keep our costs down, and we'll start adding some of the hangar space that we desperately need at the airport. Any questions? Okay. We do have a marketing firm that we've been working with, and we're looking to hire some. They gave us a sample. A couple quick things. Our one-liner, the Auburn DeKalb Executive Airport is more than a place for aircraft. With the region's longest runway and best-in-class amenities, it's a driving force in bringing new businesses, jobs, and growth to DeKalb County. I thought that was really nice. We've got a couple taglines where first-class service meets community impact, where time matters and service shines, your gateway to growth in Northeast Indiana. We'll be working at a rollout once we officially approve the name change. Again, we're not changing. We're still going to be DeKalb County Board of Aviation, but we'll be DBA, most likely the Auburn DeKalb Executive Airport. We think that really expresses what we are and what we want. And we're hoping when this NavAid system is up and running that we'll see more traffic than we have in a long time, would be our goal. And then the VA 37 group had their first scareport. Apparently, Russ has some pictures. We'll see if we can't get those out. I'll see if they can find a couple. But the VAA is supporting the airport. They do some projects there on a regular basis. They cleaned some of the vehicles and stuff, and Russ put some pictures out. And one of the pictures said, "Look at this." And he was meaning to say, look at the car that they cleaned and detailed. And instead we saw what we thought was a chuck hole in the airport runway. And there were 4, 5, 6 emails went flying around about what the heck is that hole doing there? And it turned out it was in one of the side parking areas that had nothing to do with the runway, but surprised us all. So with that, I'll take any questions.
How many spaces does that T-hangar add? How many additional airplanes?
Usually about 6.
6?
And, when I worked for the engineering company, one of our construction guys says, "Oh, yeah, I'll just go to Nucor, I'll buy a kit, we'll come and slap it up." And we can't do that anymore. Engineering. This BOT program lets BFNS, our normal consultant, set the specifications. Then we hire somebody that actually builds it at their cost. They own it, they transfer it to us, we pay them, we'll have to finance that to make the payment, but apparently it's a very cost-effective way of building and not having a lot of overruns. I don't know how often we'll be adding more hangars, but 6 spaces is still 6 spaces that we don't have.
Talking about the highway department, the bot system was used quite extensively down in central Indiana. Here,
Right.
I think the commissioners were one of the few that had done it up here in the north, but better yet, the addition of hangar space is going to increase your revenue at the airport, and because they're going to rent the spaces.
Yes.
If you house it. And do you get any kind of landing fees for, because that
There
would
are-
bring
there-
additional planes and stuff in, I would think.
There are some fees that are assessed for particular types of aircraft. The majority of the aircraft that come in and out are all single-engine private, and there's no fees assessed to them. But and as we had 1,816 total operations for the month of October. We are hoping now that the nav aids are done, that we'll see that go up significantly.
Did you ever get all your fuel systems figured out and everything?
All of our what?
Fuel systems,
Oh, yes. The
Self-fueling.
the self-fueling system is up and operating every month at the board meeting, which is Friday. Scotty brings us in a list of how much fuel they pumped, how many times the self-service fuel is used. It's like going out to the gas station. You plug your credit card in, fill your airplane up, and it happens on a fairly regular basis. It's cheaper in the long run, especially for the folks that are residing at our airport, not to have Scotty and the guys take the truck out to their hangar. If they can taxi up and pump their own fuel, they get a bit of a break for doing that.
Randy, last week, excuse me, we had a couple corporate pilots in at the museum, and we were talking about cars and planes, and one of the topics came up was the DeKalb County Airport. They were both extremely impressed with the facility, and just had nothing but good things to say about it. And they were one was from North Carolina, and I think the other one was from Missouri. And they just had nothing but good things to say about the airport.
Well, the board going back, almost to its inception, has been looking toward what we're having now. And we're the longest general aviation runway basically in the state. And that whole south side right now is empty. We would love to see corporate hangars out there with great big airplanes in it using our runway every day. That would be the goal in the long run. So we're positioned for growth, and not so much more expansion. Because if we add one more foot onto the runway, we're either into Road 427 or we're into County Road 31, and that's not going to happen. We are, as long as we can be. In fact, again, in order to do that, airplanes that land don't get to touch down in the first 660 feet of the runway. So we've got a displaced threshold. So the first 660 feet of the runway is good for takeoffs. But when you land, you have to go over that, touch down, pass there. And that then makes the runway protection area, which FAA specifies, stop just shy of County Road 31. And on the other end, stop just shy of County Road 427. Or County Road is 39 to 427.
So that displaced threshold is on both ends of the runway?
Both ends of the runway. So the first 660 feet for landing is forbidden. They have to touch down at 660 feet, and then they'll have 6,400 feet to stop. But if you've got a jet and you want all 7,200 feet, you back right up to the back end of the runway and you take off and use the whole thing. And if something happens, now we've got a safety margin for them to stop and not run off and do damage to people and property other than their own.
Well, I think that what the airport has done has been great for DeKalb County, and been recognized as having an excellent airport, and it's the economic development of DeKalb County is going to be somewhat dependent on that airport and its ability to deliver. So,
Yep. Well, we hope, and I think we've got the right people in place to do it. It's been, in my tenure on the board, and I used to fly out there back when it was a little short, 2,800-foot runway. I don't know what it would be like now to look from the distance and see all that runway in front of me and know what I'd have to do with it. But yeah, I think we're positioned for good things for the future. And I think we're going to be a great asset to the county and the region. And
Anybody else have any questions for Randy, or Randy, anything else you want to add?
as an aside, during my tenure as coroner from 92 to 2000, I think my biggest year was 42 cases. And they had 7 in a week or 2 weeks.
12 since the beginning of October.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
So
date.
quite the business. It was an interesting job. I'm glad I'm out of it. But I did enjoy it. It was a great service to the county, and I really feel for those folks because they're working a lot harder than I had to.
I don't know if you saw this, the news story actually was out this morning. The new coroner to be in January for Scott County, 18 years old. Got involved in high school working at one of the local funeral homes.
Yeah.
And he is going to be the new coroner at 18.
Good luck. Anything else?
Thanks, Randy. Great
Thank you all very
report.
much.
Appreciate
Have a
it.
wonderful day.
Thanks, Randy.
Okay, moving on. Commissioner Hartman, would you like to come on up? Welcome.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm here to,
How did your ribbon cutting go, Bill?
I had to skip out early,
Did you? Okay.
but I did do the little speech thing. Had a nice crowd, went really well.
Good.
But I was going to run late getting in here, so I had to cut out early, but it went well. Nice crowd. I'm here to talk about Ben's stipend. I want to be clear about one thing and reiterate one detail. And Ben never asked for a stipend. He never hinted that he wanted a stipend. It was my idea, my suggestion from the very start. Actually took him by surprise. And having said that, I will go back to the original dollar amount of $5,000. That's what I'm going to request today. And to back that up, I've got some situations here that we went through during this build I want to present to you. It'll take a little bit of time, but I hope not too much. First and foremost, maybe Ben spent 40 hours working in the offices. And what they did in the offices, he got in there, the lighting was inadequate, so he put up new LED lights. Well, in that process, he had to change some ceiling tile. And he put up new ceiling tile, discovered the old ceiling tile was pretty dirty, pretty cruddy. So he replaced all the ceiling tile in the offices. Another thing that they did, him and Mark Goodrich, they put in new stools. Stools are a mess. They refurbished, put new hardware on the vanities in the restrooms. And then all, like say, he put 40 hours into decorating and so forth into those office facilities. Another thing Ben did, he did 80 security checks on a facility. We started running into problems of it not being locked up. So he started swinging in, checking, make sure everything was locked up. And many, many times it was not locked up. The facility was not secure. We had parts, materials stored in those buildings, and there would be doors open, actually left open, not locked. And so Ben did 80 security checks. Now get into some of the problems that we ran into out there. The first one was the sewer drain coming out of the new restrooms, and it was to go underneath the training room and to the outside, connect to the outside pipe going to the lift station. Ben walks in there and that ditch looks awfully deep. Well, it was a foot too deep, or 18 inches, I forget the exact number. And keep in mind, had Pranger installed that sewer pipe, according to specs, by the way, the engineer's specifications, and then filled that in, cemented that in, it all had been cut back out and redone. So that was the first thing he caught, one of the first things. Second thing to come along, and there again, this was to engineer's specification, the elevation of the shop grade. When they put the dirt in, got that shop grade up to elevation, it was level with the existing Henderson building floor, finished floor. So that meant when we poured the new floor, it was going to be 8 inches too high, higher than the original Henderson floor. So that correction was made. It was rectified, not at our expense, but it was cleaned up and taken care of. Another thing that come up, shop drains. They have trench drains at the end of inside the overhead doors. Ben spotted a problem with them. When they come out of this trench drain out the end, instead of putting the trap at the end of the trench drain, they went and turned a 90-degree turn and then put the trap in. But you can't go around a 90-degree turn and clean a trap out. So that was fixed and taken care of. Another cost saving to the county because we'd have had a problem trying to jet those traps out. The biggie was the fuel tank. They had specified a 10,000-gallon fuel tank, and that was not going to leave us enough excess, enough cushion if we went into if we're down to 2,000 gallons. A truckload is 8,000 gallons, so we'd have to run that down to 2,000 gallons to get a truckload to get the best pricing. So at least 2,000 gallons in the tank. If we have a weekend snow event, we could easily go through that 2,000 gallons. So that was changed to 12,000 gallons by the Elevitus, as a matter of fact. So it was changed to 12,000. Somehow, the contractor did not get the memo, claimed he did not get the memo, did not get the email, and installed a 10,000-gallon tank. Come back, said, no, we need the 12,000-gallon tank. What's it going to cost to change it out? $50,000. And the contractor claimed it was on the county. Pay the $50,000 to change that tank out. Ben researched all the paperwork, all the emails, found where we had, in fact, they had gotten the memo, the email that this was to be changed to 12,000 and hadn't been done. It was missed. We don't know how, why, or what, but it was missed. So contractor has agreed now to change that tank out. And it should be coming in pretty soon, the 12,000-gallon tank. That gives us a 4,000-gallon cushion. It'll get us through any weekend snowstorm. So $50,000 saved there. Another thing we had, and this just came up actually this past 3 weeks, Ben brought it to my attention that we had been charged $8,700 for tap-in connection fee by Waterloo Water Department. And he went ahead and paid that, not thinking that maybe that wasn't right. After second thought, he got to thinking, and Waterloo didn't do the connection. Our contractor did that connection. Glenn Clawford contracted, did the connection. And so I talked to Pam Howard 2 weeks ago at a training that we had. She said she'd look into it. They had a council board meeting last night. I went to that board meeting. Pam Howard presented it. I spoke a little bit on it. They, in the end, decided to refund the $5,300 connection fee. So we got $5,300 coming back from Waterloo on that connection fee. One last thing I want to say, Ben more or less wears 3 hats besides being superintendent. He's somewhat of an engineer, and having said that, he does have an engineering degree, but he does have a master road building certificate. and he has a lot of common sense, engineering common sense. And one thing about the engineers, I've read where Noble County has an engineer and with salary and benefits, he runs about $160,000 a year. We get by without an engineer due to Ben's ability and his assistant, Mark Goodrich, taking up the slack when Ben's doing other things and needing to do other things. And that third hat, the other thing that he does is he writes his grants. We've had several grants come through. He's been very successful at getting these grants. The grant total from the time the Crossroad grants have started is now at $1 million that he has brought back into the county for roads. So, and there again, that's a big deal. That's a lot of money. And none of this is in his job description. I don't believe replacing ceiling tiles is part of his job description, even writing grants and so forth. So he's went way beyond and above what he needed to do. He's happy to do it. He's happy where he's at. He's happy with having the new highway department. But I am totally convinced he deserves the $5,000 that I originally requested. And, you know, I spent a lot of time at that facility every meeting. I was there almost every meeting. I saw what happened. I saw what went on. I got firsthand knowledge of it. And there was other small things that we picked up on, him and I, several things, and probably 15 or 20 different issues that was identified and corrected. And so I've got my striping, so I'm not asking for any more, but I think Ben deserves it. Any questions?
So, Bill, is it safe to say that basically Ben was the unofficial construction project manager, overseer of this?
Yeah. And I was surprised. I didn't know Ben had this much knowledge about construction. I thought I had some knowledge, but he exceeds me, even at his younger age, as far as that type of construction. He knew what was going on. He was out there almost every day checking, making sure that things were right. You know, we even had an issue with window trim, a small deal, but those windows would have leaked.
And again, it's safe to say he probably saved the county $100,000 or so.
Easy. Yeah, just in the construction alone.
As Ben's liaison, I did look into this a little bit, and when I talked to the owner of FCI as well as Tyler Wolf, one of the guys that worked on the project, and they told me that we could not have had a better county employee representing us and working hard to save us money. They said he treated it like it was his own money, his own home, and he said you just couldn't have had anybody better. And they did reaffirm that they thought it was over $100,000. They brought up the fuel tank. They said it was a biggie. We said we didn't want to eat that, but they ended up having to eat it because Ben proved that it had been communicated. So, and Ben would never ask for this. I know we're sometimes afraid of, this opens a box and other people might come and ask. That's people that come in and ask for themselves. This is their direct supervisor of Ben. The commissioners are coming to us requesting this on his behalf. He would never ask for it. He just would do it no matter what. So for those reasons, I would like to make a motion that we give Ben a $5,000 stipend.
And also to add to the comment, as both of you guys have said, that he acts like this is his home, being there. I went out there and looked at the facilities at the beginning of the week, maybe the end of last week, I don't know, I don't know what day, but what was he doing? He went out there and saw a mess, and he was out mopping the floor because he did not want it to, for in case someone he didn't expect me, but like someone important besides me would come there, he didn't want to see that. He didn't care what I'd seen it, but he didn't see it. But he gave me a tour of the place, and he pointed out, like you said, those spots that he said we had to change and everything. And I talked to at least 5 or 6 of the guys that were there, the trucks were in and everything. And it was very impressive the way he explained things. And I'm not going to argue. I think he deserves it. And I said something to him. He said, "That's not me. And he did say that. That's not me. That's what the commissioners asked for.
Okay, to clarify, sorry, real quick, to clarify, your motion would be including for this ordinance 2024 OCC 11 for that, correct?
Sure, yeah, that we add that $5,000 stipend onto the salary ordinance, is that what you're asking?
It's just an ordinance,
It's, yeah.
2024 OCC.
Ordinance.
Well, there is no doubt that Ben is an exceptional department head. And, he does take a lot of pride in his department, and it runs accordingly. And so I would also support the stipend. But what I want to point out for a future building project, which, of course, the jail is coming on. Ben, we were lucky that Ben had the knowledge that he had. But we can't expect the sheriff to do the same thing with the jail. We had an issue with the community corrections. I mean, we had 2 building projects that have had a lot of issues that maybe were not all discovered at the time of the build, but were discovered later. I mean, we've dealt with a lot of things at the community corrections. So the only thing I would suggest is moving forward that we do hire an actual construction manager for any kind of a project like that. That's what most industry would do. I think that's, thank God we had Ben. Thank God he came through. But you can't expect every department head to be able to do that. So I would also support the stipend for Ben.
Little response to that. We did have a construction manager out of Community Corrections. Although it was voluntary, it was just a complete disaster. The man should have known what was going on. I don't know where that all went south, but it surely did. So it's not always the perfect answer. Probably something we should do, I agree, moving forward, especially with something like the jail. But it's not always foolproof answer either.
Well, with the situation that you're talking about, it was inappropriate.
Yeah, it was.
That wasn't going to work. And I think that some people were informed that it wasn't going to work, and we were proven right. But done correctly, the construction manager, I think, could save us money. And again, thank God Ben was there. He did a nice job.
I wasn't on the council at the time, but I was in construction at the time, and I know that what you guys are talking about, you're fully aware of, and you're both very correct. You're on the same page with that. What we thought as a county we were getting as a volunteer service ended up costing this county a great deal of money. And I don't want to say any more than that, but saw the numbers, worked the numbers, even bid on some of the numbers, and it was costing the county a lot of money.
We did hold on. It didn't cost us a lot in the end because we held back on that retention money for like 2 years, I think, maybe more. And most of that was paid back, but still, it was a lot of headaches, a lot of glitches in the operation and the whole thing.
Well, we're talking about the construction manager. I think Ben did a great job. But if we're moving forward on this, on a construction manager, there needs to be an accountability factor. And I guess don't need an answer now, but somebody's got to monitor it. And then if it's not working, what kind of recourse do we have as far as either damages or oversight or whatever on this? It's just something to think about, because there's no point in having a county or manager if they're not held accountable and then nothing ever happens to it.
Well, the thing is, you have to hold that money back. Can't just, willy-nilly pay the bill at the end. You have to have that retention money.
Will they have to be bonded then or something for oversight or?
Probably.
Okay.
On something like the jail, I would say. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, any further discussion regarding Ben? We have a motion and a second for a $5,000 bonus.
And that is for the ordinance.
Yes.
That's for
and
the
she has
ordinance.
that.
We are voting on the ordinance with
Right.
$5,000.
Are we voting on the amount first and then we insert it in the ordinance, or how do we want to do this?
I have it. You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Ordinance 2024-OCC-11, whereas the DeKalb County Commissioners and DeKalb County Council, along with Ben Parker, Highway Superintendent, began discussions for a new highway complex around 2019. And whereas the new highway complex project was bonded in 2023 to begin construction. And whereas Highway Superintendent Ben Parker has gone above and beyond his job description to ensure the project was being done as planned by attending construction meetings, nightly visits to the site, tear down and construction of the office furniture from the old highway department to the new complex, plus many more tasks. And whereas Ben Parker has saved the county a large amount of money due to his diligent oversight and personal volunteer time. It is hereby ordained that by the DeKalb County Council that Ben Parker shall receive a stipend in the amount of $5,000 to be paid on the next payroll process after approval of this ordinance 2024-OCC-11 for the year of 2024.
Okay. We have a motion and second for a $5,000 bonus for Ben Parker here and
On first reading.
on first reading. And that's what we're going to vote on here is the approval on first reading. So any further discussion? Okay, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of giving Ben the $5,000 extra on first reading here with this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So motion is carried. The next thing we need to do then is we need a motion to suspend the rules to where this could be passed on second and third reading.
I make that motion. Oh, I'll second Rick's motion.
Okay, Rick Collins made the motion to suspend the rules. Bob Kraft second. Any further discussion? I'll call for the question. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, now we're looking at the final motion here on, this will be third reading.
Second and third.
Well, second and third, yes. But since the rules have been suspended, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion by Rick Collins.
I'll second.
Second by Bob Kraft. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of passing the motion regarding Ben Parker on second and third reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks. Okay, does anybody need a break?
Last commission meeting, is that something that we're looking at? You guys were talking about a county manager?
Yeah, we are exploring that possibility of a county manager. He would be, or she, I'm sorry. I'll hold the next comment. Anyway, yeah, we have discussed it. Todd has some, written up suggestions of what that might look like. We probably going to make some adjustments to that and mull this over quite a bit before we would come up with any decision. But, and the county manager would take care of day-to-day operations. He would be a liaison more or less between the commissioners and the department heads. He would not have any vote as far as legislation or anything like that. He would answer to the commissioners. We think it would save money in the long run. I'd be a purchasing agent, among other things. And anyway, we're kind of hashing it over. Any other questions on that?
I did hear in that discussion that there was a suggestion that it would be one of the county commissioners. And I'm one who would say we should not move that way.
Yeah. Well, and we had come to that conclusion.
Yeah,
I had anyway, for
yes,
sure.
yes.
And Mike had also.
Yeah, and I just think it was
Yeah,
important that the public's
'cause
aware that,
it'd be a commissioner answering to a commissioner.
yeah, we don't
A
want that.
conflict of
We don't want
interest.
that.
And so it'd have to be an appointed
Absolutely.
One of
position.
the other things that I think that you should look at if this is to be considered is you got 91 counties in the state. Marion County is the exception. find out how many of those counties have county managers and how many of those counties have actually eliminated the county manager because of issues that caused. So, I mean, this is not a new idea. I mean, it's been done in other places.
Right.
But it's also been eliminated in other places.
Good point.
To Rick's point, I know of several counties where people have.
I had a long discussion with the president of the county council in a southern Indiana county that they actually not only had a county manager, but they also had a full-time employee just for the council. No, where is this going? This is not, and actually his first thing he did when he took over as president of the council was eliminate that position. Because it was redundant, being done by should have been done by somebody else, like in our case, that's Susan.
Bill, thanks for bringing this to our attention, and there'll definitely be further discussion, we'll be taken under advisement. So thank you for bringing that and the ordinance with Ben to our attention. Thank you again. Okay, let's take 5 minutes. Let's come back about 10:30 if that's agreeable with everybody, plus
What'd you say?
What could be better than two Amy's?
Yeah, two Amy's. Hey.
That's right, I tell you.
Now Rick took off. We're gonna go ahead and start, Susan.
Just pound on
Got
it.
it.
I've got to get going. I'm gonna leave by 11.
Okay, we're back in session here. Next, and I need Rick for this one here.
Yeah.
Okay, can we? Well,
You want to talk about next year's schedule?
yeah, we can do that. Let's take a look at next year's schedule while we're doing this right now. You should have a copy. Let's just kind of go through this one. Which one? I've got two here. Yes,
The long ways.
this one? Okay.
Here, give me that one. Yeah, that's what I figured.
So, yeah, we agreed we'd go back to 8:30. So,
So do we completely take my suggestion off of the table of evenings?
you say you are?
I said, did we take that off the table
Oh.
of evenings? I'm asking.
I only printed this as I did prior with the, wanted the October meeting to stay. This isn't like this is just something so you guys can discuss it.
We can talk about it. Yeah, great.
I'd rather have meetings at 8, but
You won't show up till 9 anyway, so.
you're the one who told me it's the wrong time. Hey, well, we're at 8:30.
so-
I just wanted to bring that up because, again, I've had people ask me and inform me that, hey, I would love to get involved in government, but the meeting times are not conducive to other people's work schedules. And so having in the mornings, I feel like is really cutting out people from being a part and taking part in their local government. So again, I would just ask that we consider the evenings.
That's one thing about me. Evening meetings don't work for me, but I could make it work because I have a hard, see, we've changed some of our planning commissions down to mornings because of the fact that there's too much stuff going on at night for other people, so. We can look at it, but, I'm not a fan of going to evening meetings.
If we want to put that on for the next meeting for a discussion item, we could, Amy, if you want to do that. Susan, you want to make a note? We'll put that on for next meeting.
This whole thing?
Well, about the possibility of evening meetings.
Okay.
And that'll take council
I want to
action.
point out that the commissioners have tried it several times.
We've tried it as a
it's
council
not-
before,
it's
too.
not worked. And
Yeah,
as long as we can, and unfortunately, this does not work all the time. And there are some major issues that Jack is trying to fix. But now that we have that ability to live stream, I think that gives more opportunity. Because before, all you could depend on was minutes, and minutes didn't see the actual, the whole tenor of the meeting can't be expressed in minutes, so.
Sure. And that isn't what this is about. It isn't about people being able to view or be informed about what's happening in government. It's more about being involved and actually running for office and being part of the council and commissioners and those kinds of things. And so I think people have said to me, I would get involved, but I can't during the daytime because I work. So that has been a topic that's come up to me a couple times. And so I just wanted to bring that up. Again, it's not about being transparent. I think we're doing a great job when it works, but that isn't what this is about. It's about people being able to run for office. I don't want to cut anybody out.
And, and I would just say that unfortunately for that, government does operate during the day.
By our choice, though. That's our choice.
Having evening meetings, it does put a lot of additional costs on people, on the people that you're dealing with, on the people that are working for you. It's one of those things that, you know, we've had teachers have been involved in government for many years, and they are able to take the day off. It is what it is. Now, I do know that there are a couple of councils that I've been talking to lately that rather than meet in the morning, meet at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, that would maybe be acceptable. But I think evening meetings would cut into too many other things for people.
I know on a personal note, I had to either take a vacation day, personal day, day without pay to serve on the council at different periods there. And I was just, you do it if you want to be involved or you didn't.
What did you do when you were you still teaching when you were in the state legislature?
I was, but I had to take a leave of absence with no pay. to
Guess I
serve.
just, like, why are we just adding those hardships to people? I don't want to do that. It is a hardship, and I get that, and I don't think we have to do it that way. We can just move the meetings to a different time, eliminate those hardships. My thoughts. We don't have to hash it out
But when
here.
you treat, you're trying to easy up hardships for someone else is on the other side of it.
Sure.
I mean, evening meetings, for me, just don't work. And what do we do if by chance we get Rick reelected and we have a 7 o'clock meeting and we don't get out here until 11 o'clock because he's strengthened that meeting out as regular length? I mean, are we willing to work till
I wouldn't
11?
do that to you, Bill. Although it was easier when before I could say, well, wait a minute, Bill's got to go home and milk.
I gotta go home and do stuff, but I mean, that's not milking.
We need you to put that in writing.
To Bill's point, and Rick and I had this conversation 2 years ago when we talked about me running for county council. My first question was, how many evening meetings? I have 2 high school students that are involved in extracurricular activities, and I was not willing to sacrifice my parenting time with them for the county council, which my response was, when they're done, I'm ready to serve. And it worked out because it was a morning meeting. I'm serving earlier than I thought I was going to be serving, so it is one of those, it's a give and take. To Amy's point, there's people that are professionals that would love to be sitting and serving. They're well qualified to be elected, but it just doesn't work with their employers. Some of us have employers who have agreed to permit us to be a part of this as a part of our agreements, where others, like Dave's, had to take PTO, so.
What I'm hearing more not in favor of than in favor of. Do we want a consensus here?
Why don't you, let's just put on an agenda and re-talk about it next month, so we can keep moving, because
And, you know, and there's nothing wrong with a periodic evening meeting. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, that can